What's up, everybody? Welcome to another video. Now, it still amazes me that regardless of what we're seeing happening in the entertainment industry, I'm talking about the movie industry as well as the music industry, that this same said industry are still pushing an ideology that does not exist, white privilege. Now, I've talked about this before, and I've talked about how so many people in the entertainment industry, respected people in the entertainment industry, talk about Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, you're talking about James Corden, all these night show talk hosts who are white say they all have white privilege. Regardless, they have not left the positions of affluence that they have and offered it to somebody who is less privileged. Neither have they done anything to help the so-called less privileged that we are talking about in the sense of black people. Also, we've had black liberals also pushing this idea as well. Sociology saying different things about white privilege, Oprah saying her own thing, her own description of white privilege. So we're going to really dive into this thing because when you hear the term white privilege, you are inclined to believe that there is some pixie dust, is some magical thing that has been sprinkled over white people that gives them an advantage over everybody else, an unfair advantage. And this white privilege has given birth to a whole lot of other terms such as systemic racism. Now, every time somebody mentions white privilege, they usually relate it to systemic racism. They also relate it to white guilt or white fragility, as Robin DiAngelo has stated out that white people have white fragility. So everything whiteness is consistently being demonized. But guess what? While everyone is thinking that this is demonizing white people, the only thing that this thing is really asserting or telling people, the notion that this thing is trying to imbibe into people's head, is that white people are superior to other people. No matter what you do, no matter what you say, as black people are using this term as a defense.
I believe white privilege is just the ability just to be free and white and not have the same type of social, economic, and social ills as black people have to deal with. I mean, they have the ability to show emotion and love to their sons without being emasculated.
I see that white people have the same struggles and things that we have, whereas black men and women are not taking responsibility for that as they did prior to the civil rights movement.
I spoke to some young kid the other day out here in Australia, and in the middle of the conversation, while this guy has some right-leaning opinions, he says that his friends who have white privilege should use their white privilege for good in passing out the right message. So in his mind, white privilege is a power that white people have and should use it for good. Imagine that. You never saw that coming now, did ya? Not only that, I spoke to a young lady who happens to be studying law in third year of law, and she believes that she's got white privilege. She said she wants to become a lawyer because she wants to fight systemic racism with her white privilege. You can imagine that. So white people think it's a weapon and a tool to use to fight for good, while black people think it's an evil thing and it's what's withholding them from making it. So today we are going to dive into a few scenarios in the movie industry and as well as in the musical industry so that you can see what is happening to white people who are supposed to have white privilege, and as well as black people who do not have said privilege, how they are being treated in the music and the movie industry. But before we do any of that, I want to ask you guys to take a few seconds out to please help me out by hitting that like button, and also while you're down there, please do consider subscribing to the channel as well, as I will massively appreciate it. Now that we're done with the mumbo jumbo, let's get straight into the meat and the potatoes of today's video. So first off, Peggy McIntosh, the originator of white privilege, describes white privilege as an invisible package of unearned assets. It means that people like Jimmy Fallon, people like James Corden, and the rest of them who you see in these talk shows are comedians, they don't earn it. It's an unearned asset. They are simply there because of white privilege. It means that they didn't work hard to get to where they got to. Not only that, Oprah Winfrey also describes it as this: white people have an advantage on the ladder of success because of the color of their skin. So in other words, this same said industry, the only person that deserves to be where they are today is Trevor Noah because he's not white. Or isn't he? At least his father is white, so maybe some of that dust actually sprinkled on him as well. So different analogies, different descriptions, different things about this so-called white privilege. But let's put that aside. If there's one thing we can all agree on, is that they say white people have an advantage over black people, and this advantage is what puts them in front in terms of success. But let's see what's going on in real life to see whether this thing actually prevents them, because other people are saying that white privilege prevents them from being chastised, or it gives them the right to be able to be free to do whatever they want, like the video that I showed you earlier. So let's see how free white people are to do whatever they want in today's world. First off, let's dive into the story of Nick Cannon. Now, last year, I talked about Nick Cannon and how he was making anti-Semitic statements, real serious anti-Semitic statements, talking about that the Jewish people are not the original Jewish people, that the original Jewish people were black people. And also he talked about some conspiracy theories about how they're controlling the world, talking about the Rothschilds and what have you. And to top it off, he also called people that lack melanin, like the Jewish people and white people, savages. Literally, these were the things that he said. I'm paraphrasing, by the way, but these were the things that he said, and you can find this quote or even the video online. So what happened after that was that Viacom and CBS fired him after he made that statement. But what did he do? Like every good black person would do, not every good black person, by the way, but like a good black person who's a liberal, who's a lefty would do, well, he simply blamed it on systemic racism, and he refused to apologize initially, and later on he gave a statement that is being referred to as an apology. So this is what he had to say. I want to assure my Jewish friends, new and old, that this is only the beginning of my education, Cannon said in a public apology last July. I am committed to a deeper connection, more profound learning, and strengthening the bond between our two cultures today and every day going forward. Now, for me, when it comes to an apology, I am expecting that somebody would indicate that they were wrong and actually point out the things that they did wrong and then say that they were sorry. But as far as I'm concerned, I've looked through every single apology note and statement from Nick Cannon, and there was no such thing as I am sorry, which means that he did not actually issue an apology. But what happened after this so-called statement was released? He was reinstated back into all his duties with Viacom. All his contract was reinstated, and it was actually extended. The Wild 'N Out contract was extended by 3 years, and this is a black person, no white privilege, but this is how he was treated. He made racist statement, didn't say he was sorry about making those statements, but he was reinstated anyway after he gave a half-hearted apology. Now, still in the music industry, let's talk about Morgan Wallen. Morgan Wallen happens to be somebody in the musical industry now that has just come into limelight, has had the longest running #1 Billboard chart music or song in recent times, right? Since Drake. Morgan Wallen was caught on camera by his neighbor using a racial slur while he was talking to his friend. Now the guy was drunk. He didn't ask to be videoed. He was videoed. It was released without his own permission. He made a big mistake. It wasn't indicated whether his friend was black or white. I'm not too sure, but he did use the N-word in that video, which I do not condone, I must say. And this is what ensued hours later after that happened. Wallen's record label, Big Loud Records, released a statement late on Tuesday night saying that they had suspended Wallen's contract indefinitely. The record company said that Republic Records, which distributes Wallen's music, fully supports Big Loud's decisions and agrees such behaviors will not be tolerated. So first off, he's lost his record deal. Okay, CMT, the American cable network dedicated to music, said on Twitter on Wednesday morning that they were in the process of removing Wallen's appearances from all of their platforms. So now he has lost his platform. Okay, that's gone. We do not tolerate or condone words and actions that are in direct opposite to our core values and celebrate diversity, equity, and inclusion, the network said in a statement. So apparently the guy has lost everything pretty much because he uttered one singular racial slur. He also, just like Nick Cannon, has met with black leaders, spoken to black leaders. Nick Cannon met with Jewish leaders who spoke with him, and everything was hunky-dory. This guy has gone the same route, spoken to black leaders, and also issued a heartfelt apology. Not just once, not twice. He's done it in 2 videos. He has released statement after statement after statement after statement. And one of such apologies is as follows. I'm embarrassed and sorry, Wallen told TMZ in a statement. I used an unacceptable and inappropriate racial slur that I wish I could take back. There are no excuses to use this type of language ever. I want to sincerely apologize for using the word. I promise to do better. So first of all, he has cited that he was wrong. Second of all, he has apologized. And third of all, he has sworn, or at least he has indicated that he would never make such a mistake. Morgan Wallen also explained that he had been in a 72-hour bender. And when you've been drinking, yes, you can make a mistake, but I still maintain that it is no excuse. Now, are these two things fireable offenses? Yes, I think that they both should be fired, and I think that they both should remain fired because they both committed the same crime. But, you know, they say to err is human, but to forgive is divine. So if we can find it in our hearts to forgive them, yes, they should be reinstated, but at least face some kind of a punishment for what they have done, but then reinstated shortly after. But whilst a black man who has committed a worse offense against Jewish people and against white people has been reinstated without white privilege, this so-called guy who has white privilege, Morgan Wallen, has not been reinstated. Regardless of how many times he has apologized, it's been weeks and weeks and weeks, and he has not been reinstated. Moving on to the next story, let's talk about Gina Carano. Now, I mentioned Gina Carano some time ago when I talked about how Lucas was saying, how the amazing Lucas was saying that she was right to be fired. Well, let's take a look at these tweets. I'm going to read them out so that you can decide for yourself, because we're now talking about the movie industry and we're talking about one company. With the other guys, it was two different companies, maybe two different policies. But right now we're talking about one company handling a white person and a black person with double standards, regardless of the fact that we're saying white privilege exists. So let's take a look at what Gina Carano was guilty of that got her fired. There are three key tweets or three key incidences which people are pointing out that these were the key reasons that she was fired. So we're going to go over them in a second so that we can decide for ourselves if this is a fireable offense or not. The first tweet from Gina Carano that is offending people a lot was about politics. It was a politically related topic and a situation whereby she was just trying to indicate that people feel hard done by the US election. So she released this on the 5th of November, 2 days after the election, and this is what she had to say. She said, "We need to clean up the election process so we are not left feeling the way that we do today. Put laws into place that protects us against voter fraud. Investigate every state. Film the counting. Flush out fake votes. Require ID. Make voter fraud end in 2020. Fix the system." Now, this is kind of like saying the system is wrong. Now, the last time I checked, both Republicans and Democrats were responsible for the system. Matter of fact, some of the counties or areas where they were saying that there were voter fiddling were from Republican counties as well. So she wasn't really directing this towards anybody. She was just saying that people feel hard done by the way the election process went, and maybe it is still open to, you know, a little bit of fixing. So fix the system and people won't feel hard done. Is that a fireable offense? Absolutely not. But some people, even some right-wingers, believe that this is a fireable offense. I'm not mentioning anybody's name, Amazing Lucas. But yes, that's what it is. Next tweet, they were accusing her of being a homophobic human being because she refused to put pronouns on her bio. Now, last time I checked, if a woman wants to identify as boop bop beep, goddammit, America is a free country. A woman should be allowed to identify as a boop bop beep. But still, Twitter mob came after her, and at the end of the day, Disney told her to speak with selected people who were transgenders, but she said no, she wants to talk to them face to face and not by Zoom. But regardless, she still backed herself up and said the reason why she did this was not because she was trying to like offend transgender people or be transphobic. This is the reason. She tweeted this to back herself up. She said, "They're mad cause I won't put my pronouns in my bio to show my support for trans lives. After months of harassing me in every way, I decided to put up 3 very controversial words in my bio. Beep, bop, boop. I'm not against trans lives at all. They need to find less abusive representation." And this is true of the Twitter mob. Majority of them will get angry for something that the real people who are supposed to be angry are not angry at. Many a times you see on the Twitter mob, they're quick to point out somebody being racist, especially if that person is a conservative or if that person is a right-winger or that person is a Trump supporter. No matter what they say, they quickly brand them as racist, even when black people themselves don't find them as racist or the statement being a racist statement at all. But these people wouldn't stop at that. The same thing, they get angry and say someone is transphobic because that person is speaking about what what they believe in that doesn't necessarily offend transgender people, but they would say yes. I mean, it's such a thin line not to offend people these days. Matter of fact, if you identify as a mother or father or brother or sister, apparently it's no longer inclusive. It's no longer inclusive according to leftists, right? Because they are trying to eliminate this from our language. They are trying to eliminate it from the US Congress. Who's pushing it? Nancy Pelosi. Where is she from? Leftist. So right now, what offends people? What doesn't offend people? How long will it take for the PC police to come after you, even if you're a leftist? How long? So she decided to stand up to the mob. Is this a fireable offense? No, it's not a fireable offense. The last thing she posted that actually got her fired was this particular post here. And I am only reading as I see it. She said, Jews were beaten in the streets, not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbors, even by children. Because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How is that any different from hating someone for their political views? And this is exactly what is happening in America today, because the mainstream media is actually trying to alienate or demonize people who do not follow the narrative, people who are liberals or who are right-wingers, who are right-wingers, who are conservatives. Anybody who supported Trump, they are being branded as terrorists and they are being hated upon. They're being beaten on the streets. We saw a Trump supporter get shot just for wearing a MAGA hat, shot to death just for wearing a MAGA hat. We've seen children being kicked out of school, being kicked out of Zoom meetings just because they are holding a Trump 2020 flag behind them in that Zoom meeting for school purposes. I mean, a lot of things have happened and people are simply starting to hate somebody else just because of a political view. We read an op-ed not too long ago from Washington Post, or I think maybe Washington Post or The Guardian, I can't remember. And the op-ed was talking about a Democrat person who was actually comparing their Trump supporter neighborhood who helped them plow the front of their house away plowed snows away from the front of their house and did such a good job. They were still comparing those Trump supporters to Taliban and neo-Nazis. How is what she's saying untrue? And we can see on MSNBC and CNN how they are declaring what happened on January the 6th to 9/11 as well. So already they are being branded as terrorists. People are starting to hate them. And she's trying to warn that this could be 1941 to 1945 all over again. But this is what got her fired, because they considered this anti-Semitic, which it is not. I know it is not. You know it is not. And even your friendly neighborhood Jewish Ben Shapiro testified that this is not an anti-Semitic statement. Of course, it's an extreme statement, and I hate the fact that people always want to relate to maybe times of slavery or 1945 Germany to actually make a point. I don't like it. It's extreme, but it is not wrong. It is correct. Fireable offense? To me, I think not. But she was fired. She was discommunicated from everything concerning Lucasfilm and Disney. Now, regardless of the fact that she's white, her white privilege didn't stop her from getting fired, even though she has committed no crimes at all. But let's check somebody else on Disney Lucasfilm named Christina Ariel. Now, Christina Ariel is a host on Disney's The High Republic show. Now, this is a Lucasfilm extension of some kind of like Star Wars or what have you. Never seen this show, never heard about it, but she is part of the Lucasfilm crew or what have you. Right? She's on their books, just like Gina Carano was. It has been pointed out that she has committed the same crime that Disney is accusing Gina Carano of doing. And these are some of the tweets that she tweeted out. You let me know if this is racist or not. I don't care whether people want to say black people cannot be racist. Black people can be racist. All right, so check out this tweet. White people, effing stop it. Your racism won't save you. Your ignorance is not an excuse. Now, this is her responding to a Jeff Yang tweet that said, so I had my first break taken while Asian movement. It took you this long to actually experience racism, dude? Now, he said, went out for some groceries and an older masked white woman passing by the line shouted, F you at me for no apparent reason. As I stared at her, she pulled off her mask, coughed directly at me, turned on her heel and walked off. Now, this guy could be lying, but this guy could be telling the truth as well. I don't know why somebody would just walk past you without you actually provoking them and decide to say F you and then, proceed to cough at you. I don't know how true this is, but whoever that person is, if this is true, that person is a racist and that person should be chastised. But Christina Ariel doesn't chastise that one person. No. She actually lumps all white people together and say all white people are guilty of this. So white people, effing stop it. Not just one person, all white people. She even said this about Kayleigh McEnany, saying, just a reminder that white women are just as complicit in upholding and enforcing white supremacy as well. So in other words, white women are not exempted from this so-called white supremacy. But the point I'm trying to make here right now is that this woman clearly does not like white people in any shape or form. But is this a fireable offense? I don't think so. I think everybody should be free to express themselves as they want to express themselves, provided they are not trying to incite violence on somebody else. But these things, regardless of the fact that it is not a crime, to me, it is still a despicable act trying to like group people, and it is a very racist act, and even being black does not excuse us from doing such a thing. But what does Star Wars, Disney say about this whole thing? They said our Star Wars community is one of hope and inclusivity. We do not stand for bullying and racism. We support at Christina Ariel. So they are supporting her. Now she's black. She's committed a crime worse than whatever Gina Carano did. Gina Carano's crime wasn't even a crime at all. But Gina Carano, a white person with white privilege, got fired. But this lady who is black did not get fired. So what is the point I am trying to make here? There is no such thing as white privilege. White privilege doesn't protect you from anything. We've seen all these people that are promoting white privilege saying that it does exist and still haven't made any differences and still haven't made any changes. Nothing is different except for when people want to use it politically or to use it socially to defend themselves from one wrongdoing or the other. It does nothing. It means nothing. It makes nothing happen. But there is something that actually does exist. That is a thing that a lot of people aren't talking about, and that is woke privilege. It is the reason why people like Nick Cannon can get away with what they have done. Is the reason why Christina Ariel, a black woman, can get away with what she has done. Bill Maher in 2017 on live TV, on Real Time with Bill Maher on HBO, called himself a house N-word. The same type of crime that Morgan Wallace committed, the same type of crime that Morgan Wallace committed, but still, he's still the host of the Real Time with Bill Maher, and nothing has happened to him ever since. He has not been called to be cancelled or what have you, but he used a racial slur. So has Ice Cube been guilty of anti-Semitism. What links all these people together is because they have woke privilege, not white privilege. Anyway, you guys, I can go on and on and on and show you so many instances where this is consistently happening, but trust me, we will be here for days if I keep talking about this. But I want to hear what you have to say in that comment section below. I want to thank you guys for checking out this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, please feel free to hit that like button once again, hit that subscribe button, ding that bell for notification for whenever I upload. And I will be talking to you guys real soon. Peace and Sayas out. Catch you guys on the next one.